Good morning, everybody. I'm Mr. Wilson. I'm your English instructor, either for English 1101 or 1102 online. And what I'm basically going to show you right now is sort of an overview of the Blackboard course if you're unfamiliar with our particular setup here. I'm doing this for 1101 and 1102 just because the setup is basically going to be about the same, even though the course information is going to be different. Obviously, 1101 from 1102, there is a big difference. If you are in a 1102, chances are, and I'm assuming here, that you probably took 1101 through us at some point, maybe last semester. So a lot of this stuff should just be review. You probably already know how to operate Blackboard. But if you took 1101 maybe or 1102 now, but took 1101 as an in-person course, you may be unfamiliar with some of the stuff that is on Blackboard. So I'm going to talk about 1101. I'm going to show you 1101 course first, and then I'm going to click over real quick to show you the 1102 side of it. So if you're only in 1101, you probably only want to watch the stuff for 1101, which I'm going to try to be very brief with it. And the same thing for the 1102 to avoid any kind of confusion. But I think it's pretty self-explanatory because everything, the setup is sort of, like I said, pretty much the same in both courses. It's just that we cover different material. I like to welcome everybody to the spring 2026 semester. I hope everybody had a great break, was able to regroup over those last 2 or 3 weeks, had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I hope everybody's ready to hit the ground running with this particular semester. Remember, being that it is online, doesn't necessarily make it any easier. We cover the same amount of work as we would do in an in-person class, whether it be 2 days a week or 3 days a week. We just do it within a 7-day period. There is a good bit of work to be done. We do have weekly assignments for the most part. There are due dates that you want to kind of pay attention to. I do not take late work. Um, if you miss something, then you just miss something. You need to turn stuff in on time. There's a reason for that. I got 5 other classes, 6 classes in total. I got a lot of students. I got a lot of stuff that I'm reading. There's no late work. There's no makeup work. There's no redos. I try to space stuff out on the calendar for a reason to give time for you and for me, you to actually learn it, digest it, write it, draft it, whatever the case may be, and then for me to grade it and give you adequate feedback. So kind of keep that in mind. Um, for most of the stuff, at least in 1101 right now, you're going to have to download 1102. You're going to have to download it to at some point. But you're going to have to download the Respondus Blockdown browser program. There's information. I'll show you where you can find that in your course content area in Blackboard, because most of your quizzes will have a 60-minute time limit, and you would have to use the Respondus browser to be able to do that. There's going to be a couple of assignments where you're going to have to use Respondus browser throughout the semester as well. We use that in a lot of ways to sort of combat cheating using AI and that type of stuff. But as we move along, you're going to realize which assignments are going to require that. They're going to be on Blackboard. There's going to be, some sort of a symbol or emblem. I know with the first quiz being with your syllabus as it relates to the 1101 group, you won't need to have Respondus then. But after that, all the other quizzes, you will need to have Respondus for that particular in that particular class. And again, as we move into that, as the weeks move into getting closer to the next quiz, I will remind you in a specific video that's for that class. But again, my name is Mr. Patrick Wilson. I'm happy to be your English instructor for the next 15 weeks. I hope that we learn a lot from each other, basically, from your writing, from your analytical, critical reading and writing skills. And again, reach out. I'm here for you. I'm basically here Monday through Thursday. I do have a couple in-person classes, but reach out if you have any concerns or issues. I will be putting up my personal office hours and tutoring information if you want to, if you're close by. I live in Brunswick, but I work at the Camden campus. So if you're in St. Mary's or Kingsland, and if you want to have one-on-one or in-person tutoring more so than Teams, we can set up something, we can schedule something there. There is a online 24/7 tutoring service called tutor.com. Some of y'all might use that if you're, part of the 1102 group. But right now, again, I'm going to show you a little bit about the setup for 1101, and then I'm quickly going to show the 1102 group their setup as well. So bear with me here while I share my screen, and we will go with that. So you should see, this is basically the 1101 class, which for my online version, it's the one that ends in 44260. And as you can tell here, this is composition and rhetoric. You probably want to click here. This is where you're going to find your course syllabus. Again, I'm not going to insult anybody's intelligence. If you're in this course, I know that you know how to read. I'm just going to sort of point it out to you where you can find certain information. The simple syllabus is right here. You can learn about the weighted categories and percentages for overall grade in your particular course. If you are new to Blackboard, especially with this 1101 group, you probably want to look at some of this information here, how to navigating Blackboard Ultra, student help for Blackboard. The respondents information is definitely right here. You want to click on this information. Especially you want to, click on the drop down arrows to look at additional information, because you're going to need to have both groups, or both classes are going to need to have respondents at some point. The 1101 group is going to need to have it a little bit sooner than maybe the 1102. But you want to look at that information and go through and get all the requirements that you need for the lockdown browser, because when it comes to certain quizzes and tests, if you don't have that downloaded, or if you don't go to the closest Coastal Pines Technical College and use their system, at the library or the testing center, you're not going to be able to complete those assignments without it. So you're going to need to get that program downloaded on your desktop or your laptop. It won't work on a tablet really well, and definitely I wouldn't even, I wouldn't entertain it on a cell phone. It won't, it's going to be disastrous. I don't even think you can download it on the cell phone. Your textbook information is all right here. Again, we use a OER, which is an open educational resource, which means your textbook is free. You just basically click on the link here. This is for the 1101 group. 1102 is basically going to be the same. You click on this hyperlink and it takes you to our textbook for the course. If you see something in your course syllabus or online in the Blackboard page that refers to page numbers, I'm referring to the page numbers in your particular online textbook. Are we going to cover everything in the textbook? Probably not, but we will cover a good bit. And for concepts or items where I think the textbook kind of lacks because it is an OER, I will give you either handouts via email, or I will, send you a hyperlink, or I will upload the information I want you to really pay attention to in a particular modular on Blackboard. So when we go back here, this is going to be the MLA handbook. Let me see if this is working. Sometimes it does, sometimes it don't. We're going to be using MLA 9. It's the 9th edition. When we get to writing rough drafts and final drafts, especially with papers, everything is going to be typed up using MLA 9 on Microsoft Word. You need to send it as a Word document. This should be how your paper looks when you start to type it out. There are free templates online. You can find stuff on your cloud version of Microsoft Word, which you have a free version of in your student email account. The desktop of Word has a template. You can download a template probably from Microsoft Office online somewhere, but you're going to be typing your papers using Microsoft Word and using that particular MLA 9 format. Anything else, again, I can't guarantee I'm going to be able to download it and read it. I know a lot of students in the past lost a lot of points on their essay because they couldn't follow instructions and use the proper formatting that I needed. Um, some folks like to save and upload their work as PDF files. The deal with PDF files is I can read them, but that's about all I can do. I can give them I can read through them and give them a grade, but I can't really mark them up like I could a Microsoft Word file. So if you want really good detailed feedback, you need to upload them as a Microsoft Word file. If you don't really care, what the feedback is, well, I can read it and give it a grade and just move on to the next essay. I mean, a lot of folks, especially if you don't do so well on a particular essay, you're going to want that feedback so you're not making the same mistakes, say on essay 2 or essay 3 or whatever the case may be. So you can also find, if you click on that, some tutoring information. This is that online tutoring I was talking about, tutor.com. You click through, you read some of this stuff. Again, this stuff is going to be up the whole semester. So you can kind of go back and kind of read on your own accord. The live library and chat, that's going to be more probably of a benefit when we get into the research paper aspect of the course, which would be later, into the month of April. But for 1101, if you look, this is where we're going to start with Modular 1. Narrative and descriptive kind of tells you what we're going to be talking about. If you scroll down here, again, if you hit this arrow, it's going to give you everything that we're going to cover in this particular section. As you know, you do have your first quiz, which you won't need to use Respondus on quiz 1, but you will need to be using it for every other quiz after this. It deals with your syllabus. So you might want to make sure that you really read and go over that syllabus. Today is the 12th. That is due on the 18th, which is this coming Sunday by 11:59. So you want to make sure that you read your syllabus and you're able to take that particular quiz before the deadline, because once it hits midnight, the quiz shuts down and it goes dark, meaning it becomes unavailable to students. So whatever's not there or whatever's not saved, whatever the case may be, if you didn't complete it, it's going to mark it as a 0. And the problem with the first quiz really is sort of a verification quiz. Who to see who's really enrolled in the class. Are you enrolled in the class? Because by the time we get to next week, probably next Tuesday, because Monday's a holiday, for those that didn't take the quiz, probably going to be dropped from the course because you didn't do anything. Just opening up the course and looking at the stuff, but not completing an assignment is not saying that you're 100% engaged and enrolled online. And that's both for the 1101 and the 1102 group. So kind of keep that in mind, that you have to take some of these syllabus quizzes or these first week assignments seriously so you don't risk getting dropped next week. And you can start looking at some of the information that we're doing. Again, here you click on the Modular 1 readings. It's going to give you some hyperlinks, gives you some page numbers, that type deal. Here's the essay full format. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in the week. This is really basically to give both courses sort of an overview. I'm not necessarily going to go over any information right now as it relates to particular courses. I'm probably going to do that toward the end because I know usually the first 2 days or so, everybody's trying to get organized, get right back in the groove of things. So I will probably give a lecture video that deals with modular, the first sort of week 1 stuff in both courses toward the end of this week. So you might want to kind of keep an outlook on that. But if you want to sort of get ahead, if you're one of those folks that want to get ahead, you can start to look and see what we got going on. The first essay for 1101 is not due until the 1st of February, but we do have a peer review that's happening on the 25th. Of course, quiz 1 is going to happen or be due by the 18th. If you're looking for your essay topics for the 1101 group, you want to click on your Dropbox here. You can download this or you can pull this down and it will give you sort of the information for that page link, that type deal. Again, this is for 1101 only. Once we get closer to finishing up modular 1, I will open up modular 2 so you can start to get kind of introduced to that. Otherwise, like I said, if you want to see, again, the syllabus is right here under simple syllabus. You want to click on that, read through all that because your first quiz is going to be dealing with this. It's going to go through the information, basically, really the overview of the course, what we're going to be doing, what you're going to be learning, writing, that type deal. It gives you some of my information, my email, uh, my office number, that type deal. It talks a little bit about the respondents, who's going to need what as it relates to that. Basically, the 1101 group's definitely going to be using respondents a little bit more. Probably by the end of the week, I'm going to add my office hours and tutoring times and dates and stuff here. But until then, just read through this as best you can, as much as you can. Of course, again, like I said, you do have that first quiz that deals with this. If you scroll all the way down, it's going to give you the course schedule. So this is sort of the checklist. This is going to tell you what date and when it's due. So this is pretty much our assignment list for English 1101. Again, if you have any questions, any concerns, you can always email me or call me. I will try to get back and reply to your question in a timely manner. Again, usually if it's Monday through Thursday, I'm basically here 7:30 in the morning to 6 o'clock in the evening. My days off are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That doesn't mean I won't check email occasionally. I will, but I won't be living behind the computer Friday, Saturday, and Sunday since, most of us do have a life outside of work and school. I got 2 kids. I got a wife. I do have a life outside of work. But if you do email me over the weekend, I will read it, and you probably will get something back within a 24 to 48 hours, depending on what time it is, how depth that particular question you're asking, and if it's a holiday type deal, like we have a holiday coming up this coming Monday. So if you do email me, you will get a response back. May not be as quick or as fast as a response, say, if you email me sometime between Monday and Thursday, but I will respond back to you. Otherwise, I look forward to working with everybody, meeting everybody, and being here to help. So just let me know if you need any help. At this point, I'm going to click over to the 1102 class just to show them that their setup is basically the same way. As you can tell here, you're going to find your course syllabus under the Welcome Stingray. You will find a welcome message. You will find the simple syllabus. There's all this other information about navigating Blackboard if you need that. This information about Respondus if you need to download that lockdown browser. If you don't already have it, you may already have it on your computer from previous semesters. We do have the textbook right here. There's some additional tutoring information. Again, MLA, we're still going to be using MLA in this particular course as well as it relates to our papers. And then if you look, this particular course is sort of open. I'm probably going to go ahead and hide some of these a little bit. But I may leave some of them open. The problem is if you leave too many of these things open, sometimes students get overwhelmed about what they need to do. I would focus honestly on the week modular 1 or week 1 stuff and, deal with it by week. Because unless you just really know what you're doing, sometimes students will get so far ahead and start messing up on multiple assignments that they now are getting frustrated because their grade is suffering. But I didn't tell them to go 15 or 4. I didn't tell them to work 5 weeks ahead. They like to do it just because they think they know what they're doing and they want to get ahead, which is fine if you do know what you're doing. But it's disastrous if you get 3 weeks ahead and you screwed up 2 or 3 assignments already. So just be mindful about working ahead, because I'm sort of pacing myself with the course. So if you want to try to work ahead, that's great. If you're answering stuff that's 3 weeks down the road, and you may not get a grade until it gets closer to 2 or 3 weeks down the road. I'm just saying. Um, but make sure, again, you have a syllabus quiz that's going to be due on the 20th, which is next Tuesday for the 1102 course. You do have an introduction right here by Thursday midnight, which is the 15th. Brief essay about 200 words, introducing yourself to the class, then respond to at least two of your classmates. So that's sort of like your first graded assignment. So make sure that you read that. And then we will move into, again, I will come back a little later this week and talk about this mini literary analysis essay and some of this other stuff. But you will, look at various deadlines and due dates and stuff. This kind of tells you a little bit more about the course. The assigned readings for this week are right here. And then you have this short story that's going to be preparing you for your first writing assignment later this month. So make sure that you read through all this stuff. Again, just like the 1101, there's stuff going to be due on a regular basis. We don't have time to play catch up. We don't have time to, this is an example essay 2. If you look how things are set up as it relates to MLA format, just make sure that you do have your last name up here, right? You don't want to lose easy points is basically what I'm getting at, because there's a lot of times when students in these classes, they lose points just on the format. And that can be a difference between an A and a B or a C and a D. And all that information is free and available to you. You just need to be able to understand it, follow it, and ask questions if you need help. But again, like I said, I'd probably, stay with doing what needs to be done for week 1 and not venture off too much until you get a little bit more comfortable with the setup of the course. Otherwise, we still have tutor.com here. Here's the e-text. This again is introduction to literature, so it's a little different than 1101, of course, because we're dealing with poetry, short stories, drama, and that type stuff. But the basic setup is pretty much similar in both. As it relates to, where to find the textbooks, where to find the respondents information. Simple syllabus is right here. Again, I'm not going to read through everything because I realize, you're intelligent enough to read on your own. The problem, what may be different would be this information, because I'm not Caitlin Johnson. I took one of her courses over. So I'm going to have to update this a little bit more. And I will get that to you momentarily. As I say here, and I might go ahead and upload that now, at least edit some of it, so there's no confusion of who's my instructor for this course. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to go ahead and get that. Well, let's see. Yeah, I'll just do it this way. Because I just recently took over this course. Caitlin is still here. She's the new lead. I gave my lead position up to her just to try to spice things up a little bit. But I will update this information while I'm here right now. So we will know what's up. I will put, like I said, I might have to get my door schedule and see what I have up here for tutoring hours. So this will be going up soon. Since it is the first day, I don't think anybody's getting in any tutoring right now. So we will go with that. All right, let's see if this works. I may have to do this one, so it's going to be duplicate, which I don't like that either, but we're going to see what it does. Ugh. Yeah, I love these things here. See if this works. Yeah. Okay. It's there. I'll go back and kind of change this a little bit, but it's there for the purpose that we need it for, and that's what matters right now. Um, what's going on here? This thing wants to be a pain. Oh no. I'll worry about that later. Anyway, again, welcome to the course. If there's anything I can do to help you, please let me know. And like I said, I plan on giving individual lecture videos over, particular week one for 1101 and 1102 throughout this week. Um, Depending, how busy things get, I plan on doing a lecture video or try and do a lecture video on a weekly basis. Sometimes I will be able to do that. Sometimes I may not be able to do that, depending on how busy things are on my end of things. But I will try to at least give a lecture video about once a week, if not once every other week. 1101, I can pretty much probably get away with that a little bit more since we spend about 3 weeks on whatever we're particularly talking about as it relates to rhetorical mode of writing. 1102, because it is a fast-paced nature course and we deal with different texts each week, I'm going to try my best to be a little bit more attentive to that particular class as it relates to lecture videos. But again, there's going to be a lot of stuff out there that you can go to YouTube to look up and that type deal. And I will send you, notes if something comes up where I'm not going to be able to maybe lecture as long. But a lot of it is self-explanatory. But again, you can always reach out if you have any additional questions or issues. I look forward to working with everybody, and I wish everybody a good first day of the course and first week of our 2026 spring semester. Until we talk again, have a good one.